In the 50s, we start to get more and more of a bump up. So this fueled the real estate licensing industry. Real estate brokers and agents became more and more prevalent because the market was heating up. So you had the Realtor Association that then created the MLS as we know it today. If you're not familiar with what MLS is, it's the multiple listing service, which is where still to this day, all real estate agents and brokers list their houses. That was created in 1960, which was impactful because it gave real estate brokers and licensees for the first time in history a collective place to put houses that were for sale. The whole reasoning behind real estate agents even existing in the first place was because it gave homeowners access to a network of people. So if I was gonna have an open house, initially open houses were developed for a bunch of real estate brokers or agents to come together and to say, if someone came to that house and they didn't want it, there were a bunch of other agents there who had other homes that they could expose those people to. It was a very boots on the ground kind of effort back then. And so now we've got actual, not technology yet, but we've got a book, which is the MLS at that point. It was literally a written book where people could put their listings and people would be able to go to a real estate broker or agent and see like what was available for them to purchase. Then we started to take a completely different spin. At this point, FHA mortgages were at an all-time high, and so were VA mortgages. Almost all of your traditional mortgages at that point were conventional, which means that they're not government insured, but you are starting to see this dramatic increase of government-backed securities, which is essentially the government promising to pay if you can't pay for your mortgage. So if I default, someone's gonna bail me out, right? A good example would be equating, let's say that I'm gonna go buy a carton of milk in 1920. Can I buy that same carton of milk for the same price in the 1960s? No, right? Because we know over time that there's inflation. Things are steadily going up in value as we progress as a country. And so as values go up, then a bank has a increasingly difficult time holding on to a loan. And there was true evidence that this was becoming a problem around late 1960s, early 1970s. So the answer for that was to create the secondary mortgage market. You probably have heard the term Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, or Ginnie Mae. And these were kind of the core pieces of the secondary mortgage market. And really all that means, we'll talk about it more when we talk about loans, which we're planning in another series. The main purpose of this was so that a bank could give you a loan. So let's say that I go get a loan for $100,000. That bank can give me the loan and then turn around and sell the loan to get their cash back. Getting their cash back was very important so that they could keep homeownership on the rise. At the time, it's like, what a genius idea, right? But what this created was, for the first time, banks did not have to fear default. For the most part, they didn't have to fear default because they could give a loan to someone that was backed by FHA or VA, and then they could turn right around and sell it, get all their capital back, and make another loan. This is when you first saw mortgages get easier. People that typically could have never gotten a mortgage previously were able to actually qualify for one for the first time. So this was seen as a very positive thing at the time that ended up getting increasingly negative. And that was evidenced by a little known real estate bubble that happened between 1974 and 1992. So between 74 and 92, you had this increase of values. It was the first true real estate bubble, if you've heard that term before. Bubble just means it's inflating to a point where bubbles are always bad because if you blow something up too much, it's gonna pop in your face. So from 74 to 92, mainly related, most experts relate it to the secondary mortgage market taking place. Some people argue that it was for other reasons, but either way, we had our first kind of run of overinflation in the real estate market that we hadn't seen before. What this resulted in is in the 1980s, the interest rates for mortgages went over 18%. So if you're thinking about mortgage rates today, right? And after our housing crisis that we went through, the interest rates bottomed down to like 4 and 5%, which they're still sitting around 5-6% today. Imagine it being in the 20s. The affordability of housing was going out of control, which is why it took it a while until the mid 80s and 90s for us to see the result of that and for that bubble to reach a bursting point. But those driving interest rates were a big part of that. After you had this kind of bubble coming to a head, then we had technology that came into play, which made the accessibility for real estate different than ever before. As with everything, the internet changes all things.